the 41K versus the 1.1K between Claude and Codex, that's super significant.
I would think about it more as a difference in philosophy. Codex does a lot with little, right? It has these 7 basic tools, and the descriptions for the tools are very short. Whereas if we now look at the definition of a tool from Claude, we can see it's a lot more detailed. But I would be surprised if Codex can achieve these kinds of results without any kind of training for these tools in particular.
Right.
And we also know that Codex, we're running it with GPT 5.1-Codex.
So this is outside of the 1.1K, which is the tool description. You're talking about an actual something that's baked into the training to allow it to use this. And the descriptions are therefore just almost decorative, so that the agent, with its training, knows which ones to use.
Yes.
But the core piece. So very interesting. And maybe, and I guess this, there's a lot of guessing here probably, but perhaps Claude has maybe had less of that training in the tools because of the amount of verbosity in the descriptions, because it's probably, you're looking at around twice as much verbosity in the description, given you're around it's about 20 times.
Exactly.
Because if you look at the difference in tools, you're looking at about 20 times more.
It's quite a lot.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And of course, we can speculate here because we can't see the training, but it's very, very interesting data and differences between them.
We can speculate, and there are other things that we see, right? Like in our own evaluations, we've had better success. And at the moment, our sense is that Sonnet 4.5, Opus 4.5 do better than the Codex models in using other tools, tools that they haven't seen before, right? Like custom tools. And so while, yes, of course, Codex and Claude and Gemini, all of them support MCP, you can add tools on top of them. You can just invoke the model in your own code, right? Like just as we've seen with Nano Agent, and give it whatever tools you want. We've had at least better success making Sonnet make use of arbitrary new tools than we've had with Codex.
Interesting.
Not saying Codex, the GPT 5.1, Codex and GPT 5.1 in general. Not saying it cannot use tools, but not as flexibly. And then there's a trade-off. What do you prefer, right? Like, these tokens, always being in the context, they're expensive. They cost you something, even with caching, right? They take some of the context window and they cost us something, but they give you this additional flexibility. You don't need to retrain the model in order to swap the tools. There is reason to believe that the model would be sort of like more capable. And again, this is something that we're also seeing in separate benchmarks with new tools that it's never seen, because it's like more of a generalist, as opposed to has been trained on those tools in particular.
Yep, interesting. So you mentioned before there's a difference in planning. What does that? I guess what does that look like? What are the differences in planning across models and agents?
So one thing that I lumped into planning is use of sub-agents, like invoking a whole separate agent. We could talk about that. I wasn't sure if it was the right thing to lump it into planning, because it's a whole very, very rich space. But when we say planning normally, right, ignoring sub-agents for a second, we mean exactly this. The model is instructed, hey, if it's a complex task, don't just try to do it willy-nilly and do whatever you want. First of all, write to yourself, and there's a lot of research supporting that models do better when they first kind of like reason through the problem and create a plan, and just say what is the plan, or write. They don't say, they write the plan in tokens out, like to be added to their context, and now they'll be following the plan. So both Codex and Gemini have a tool called update plan or something along these lines. And what they do in that tool is just the model is invoking the tool, saying, here are the steps I'd like to go through. These steps are then added to the conversation history. And that's it. There's nothing else that reminds the model to follow the plan. There's nothing that would tell the model, oh, you've skipped a step or whatever. Anytime the model wants, it can just emit a new update plan, and the user will be seeing whatever is the latest plan that the model has shown. Usually, the model doesn't choose to change the plan willy-nilly. And so if it had steps 1, 2, 3, 4, it does an update plan, and now I'm doing 1. Update plan, same 1, 2, 3, 4, but 1 is crossed out. Update plan, 2 is crossed out, and so on. And we get a sense of progression. But actually, the model can do whatever it wants. There's nothing in the agentic harness that is running around the model that would remind it of things. Claude takes a different approach here. Claude has several planning tools, and update plan, task complete, these kind of things, like more nuanced. And the agentic harness actually kind of like supports the model by reminding it, oh, you're done with step 2. Let me remind you that before you said that you should be doing step 3 now. And so actually the plan is nothing. It's just tokens that the model is saying in Codex and Gemini. It gets added to the message history, and now the model is more likely to follow that because it sees that in the context that's gone by. Whereas the plan is an actual sort of like element of flow control or element of control in Claude. There is something that is not the model. The agentic harness is actually reminding it, hey, are you sticking to the plan? Are you following the plan? Did you finish the plan?
Yeah.
So that's, again, pretty substantial difference, I think, on something that you can see how often agents are planning, right? Like planning is a very important aspect of agentic behavior, and yet such a difference in philosophy. But again, all of these are very capable agents. All of them end up like doing their plans pretty well, even though the underlying implementation is quite different.
Yeah, it almost feels like, there's no right way or wrong way by the sound of it, because different models are picking different things. And like you say, it's such a crucial thing. If there was one way that was kind of like showing, much better value, you'd think all models would navigate to that immediately, right? So it's probably just more the way that it was a choice of implementation versus any major difference. But yeah, it's super interesting to see such big, high profile models just choosing completely different ways of doing these things, and then sticking to it as well.
And then sticking to it, we'll see. Like I don't remember if it was Codex or Gemini. One of them already is beginning to have, because the repo is open source.
Yeah,
it was already beginning to have changes to some of its tools to be like more geared more towards kind of like the rich set. So maybe they are changing tack, and like maybe they're approaching it like they're making a change over time. But yes, the seeing Claude and Codex, the distinction is so big between them. Clearly, they thought about it, right? This is not the first version.
No.
Like we've been out there for some time, and there's a marked difference in philosophy.
This isn't their first LLM rodeo, is it?
Yes, this is the first LLM, exactly.